The Dice Tower is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. This episode is sponsored by the Op, also known as USAopoly.
The Dice Tower, episode 684, Rose Atoll.
Welcome to The Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them.
In today's show, Mandy talks about a solo game that she played, while I do a family game blitz. And we've got a game pie full of Reiner Knizia games. I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
And I'm Mandy Hutchinson.
And woo-wee, Mandy,
Yes.
24 plays. 24 plays of the same game. My City.
I was surprised we did it. I know. And not to say I'm surprised that we couldn't do it, that we finished it, because it's hard for us for time purposes, right?
It is, but I found My City games were so reliably in that 40 to 60 minute time range. Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, a lot of the games played pretty quickly for us because we just knew what to do.
Exactly.
Overall, right? And between games, we would check on the rules, tweaks that happened between sessions and things like that. But I am so glad we did it. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, My City is a legacy-style game in which you permanently change the game between games. Actions happen in the game that cause permanent changes. Designed by Reiner Knizia, published by Cosmos Games. Now, Mandy, our friend Ashley, and I have played through now the entire thing. Darn it, Mandy, when did we start? I can't remember.
I don't even know. It's been, a few weeks? And when I say a few weeks, though, we weren't playing it every day. It would be once a week sort of thing, but then we would, crush out, a bunch of games at the same time. A few weeks, maybe? A month?
Okay, well, thanks to my magic tracking app, Board Game Stats, I looked it up, and we started August 15th.
We did not. Did we really?
We did. Our first chapter was August 15th, and we finished November 7th.
To be fair, I think there was a period where we didn't play them for a while.
True, and we would spend we had days where we played. There was one day where we played 9 or 10 games in a row. It was a lot. But folks, it was a great experience, and I'm really glad I got to do it with friends. One thing that we did, we are not going to give any spoilers, first of all, but we did play remotely, and it worked so well. And Mandy has done this thing, and I'll let you obviously talk about, Mandy, where you dropped that packet to Ashley so that we could play. And I love that you did that. Do you want to talk about that for a sec?
Yeah, sure. So Ashley and I, so our friend Ashley, we play games. Ashley and I live in the same city. So she's about a half an hour drive. So what I did was I packed up her board with her bits and some extra things that were in the game that I thought might come up later, and drove them over to her. So we were able to play. I had the cards up on my screen with the video camera.
And by drove over, you dropped a packet, but you didn't stay and play.
No,
we're all trying to be very conscientious about the pandemic.
So, yes, we have a very system. It's in the trunk of the car. I've got my mask. She comes out, open the trunk, she grabs it and goes. So yes, I didn't stay. And then we played all in our own locations. I had the cards on screen with my video camera and then flipped the cards, and then we all did our own boards at our own homes. And it worked out really well, I thought. And then Ashley and I have also done a little playthrough of just the first game, so it's not spoilers in that one. So if anybody wanted to play along and see what it's like, you can try that too. So it worked out really well. I thought it was great.
I had a great time. It was lovely to play with friends. It played very well remotely. I think it was a great game. I remember a while back, Tom said, Suzanne, I think you'll like that. And he was right. I really, really did. Now, when we finished up 24 games in a 3-month period, I think we all said we could take a break from it. Now, we could replay the boards that we had created throughout the game, or there's a reverse side that lets kind of an evergreen play.
Right.
I think we all agree we're ready for a little break from My City after 24 games.
Agreed.
But come on. You get 24 plays out of a game, you're doing pretty darn well.
Absolutely. And I still have 2 boards left over that were not used in my box. So what I'm going to do is see locally if I have friends that would be interested playing a 2-player version of
I
the
think
game.
That's great. And it will play great 2-player too, so that's awesome.
I think so.
So My City, we did it, folks. I think it's, from my point of view, it's really hard to do reviews of things that you can't spoil, so I'm not going to really review it, but I just would say it's a definite thumbs up for me. If you like Tile Lane, if you like polyomino puzzles, there were some nice surprises. There were some frustrations. Oh, we should point out, After 24 games, Ashley won.
Oh,
Ashley
yes.
the Shark won because it's got campaign points. But let's see here. 1, 2, 3.
And I mean, I was
I
losing,
technically won 13 out of 24 games.
which is really good.
But
How much did-
Ashley the Shark came back. And Mandy, you won 6
Yay!
of the games.
To be
But
fair,
Ashley
though,
won the campaign.
I had a rough start. I was like, ooh, this is going exactly as I thought it would. And then it was like giving me hope because I was like, what? I'm winning. Yeah. And then it kind of like straightened out again. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I had a good run. You know, it can only last so long.
As it happens, especially with Ashley.
Exactly.
But thumbs up. It was a great experience. I'm glad we did it. And I just proves that I think I really like legacy games. I got to get more of these in.
Agreed. Well, I'm looking forward to another one that we potentially might play.
I know. We'll see if we can make that work.
Exactly.
Now, Mandy, we've got a stream coming up for Kapow.
Yes.
When is that? I have no idea when it is.
So, yeah, no, we've been toying with dates, and I think we're going to be looking at the end of November. So this will be considered an app-tastic episode because we're going to be playing on Tabletop Simulator.
Cool.
So, yeah, so that it's currently on Kickstarter, I believe, but it'll still be on at around that time. But at least people get an idea of how it plays through Tabletop Simulator, because right now that's how people would most likely be playing it. Yeah, so that's coming up at the end of the month. That's all we're going to say for now. You'll have to tune in or check out the Dice Tower YouTube channel to see when we are playing. All right, well, speaking of playing all the games, I am looking at Too Many Bones. So for those of you who know me, I really, really love this game, and I don't get to play it as often as I would like. But Michael, some of you might remember, we did some playthroughs on the Dice Tower, had to take a break, stuff happens, life happens and whatnot. But we are looking at coming back to do some playthroughs, specifically with some of the newer gear locks that have been added. So we've been toying with a couple. When we talk about games played, I will give you a little bit more detail to the character or the gear lock that I'll be playing. And I'd love to hear your comments on the gear lock that you really like out of the new ones that have kind of just come out. So look forward to that.
And I know you have a little chat of that coming up, so maybe we should just get to the games we've been playing.
Sounds good.
So, what have you been playing lately?
All right, so this is the first game into my venture of solo games. Now, before you go, what? Mandy's going to be talking about solo games? Woo! Hold the applause, hold the excitement. It's currently because we are in this COVID situation that I'm forced to play games solo. It's not my favorite, okay? So if I say it's good solo, that means that's a good thing for all of you because it's really hard for me to play games solo. Oddly enough, I can play video games solo, have a hard time with board games solo. Go figure. All right, so first up on the list is one of the two solo games that I'm going to be talking about, or that you can play solo, is Fairy Trails. And this is designed by Uwe Rosenberg, and art is by Nicholas Demers, published by Paper Plane Games. It's 1 to 2 players, and it plays in about 15 to 20 minutes. And like I said, I did play the solo version. So this game, it's a small box, really straightforward. You have cards, and they're very small cards, might I add. And each player normally would get some of the cards, and then there's like a pile in the middle, and you're playing out cards, trying to complete paths. And there are, I think, pink and yellow on the cards. And then you have these little like jeweled diamondy things that match the paths, and you want to put them out. And for ones that you're putting out, right, you're going to get you want to try and get all of those out before the other player. When you're playing solo, you're trying to get out as many as possible, but you want to get through the entire deck. Well, can I just say, yeah, I played this like 6 times. I am horrible at it, like really bad. Because in the solo version, if you haven't put out one of those gems after 3 cards, oops, sorry. Like, and the only way you can put that out is once you've completed a full path. Like, there are no open ends to the path. So I kept getting paths that were open, not closed off, or paths where I couldn't place a house. It was closed off, but there was nowhere to put those little gems on the path. I don't know. I found it really hard, but it's also, too, because maybe I just wasn't making the correct paths. For what it is, I didn't mind it. It was short. I think that's probably why. Like, it was a game that didn't needlessly drag on. Yes, it was quick. I got to the point. I realized, hey, I'm not great at it, but I played it 6 times. I mean, that's got to say something. So I was either trying to get better at it or, hey, it's short. Why not give it a go?
Do you feel like the more you played, you were being smarter in your decisions, though? Because, like, I hear you say, oh, if you cut your path off or whatever.
Yep.
And all that makes a lot of sense to me, especially if you were getting more strategic or you had a better ability to plan in your sixth game than compared to your second game. Or do you feel like it was just all total random luck and you couldn't improve your prospects between games?
I definitely think the thought process was better.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard, right? Because you're only given so many, like, your choices of cards, right? Like, if you get 3 cards and you draw 3 cards that don't close a path, well, that's the end of it. Now, there is a way to make it a bit easier where you can decide not to keep a card and draw another card, so that might help you out. But getting some of the certain cards was like luck of the draw, right? But yes, I mean, could I have placed things in a better way? Sure. And I did start to kind of figure that out later on.
Right.
So it was a marginally better showing.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. And I'm not trying to call you out or make you feel judged.
So, I mean, as someone who plays, like someone like you or Ashley or other people I know that play solo games, is this something that I think you would keep as a solo game on your shelf? Probably not.
Interesting.
So it's
Interesting.
so quick. I don't know. And that's not to say that you wouldn't. I just don't know how much interest you would find in it. For someone like me who's not really big into solo games, so maybe I just want something quick to kind of get the mind going, I might hang on to this. Maybe. But I'm not a solo gamer. So
Right.
if you are looking for that intense experience, the next game I'm talking about, you may get more of that.
Yeah.
Versus this one where it's just a quick, hey, and maybe you're much better than me and have a longer and lasting experience, but depending on what you draw is really how it's going to shape your gameplay, which normally I'm all about, but it got a little frustrating for me. So
right.
Fairy Trails is one of those games I'm going to go with. It's fine. I liked it. I don't know as a solo gamer how much people are going to enjoy it. I also didn't play the 2-player version, so maybe that might have a bit more of the interaction that I'm missing.
Yeah, I really am betting that there's that there's something to that, and I kind of feel like we should try to get it played 2-player. I know that may be a challenge, but I'm betting we can be clever about it.
Yeah, so I think I'll save further judgment on it until we play 2-player. I'm just basing this maybe just on the solo experience for myself. But yes, let's revisit this after we played with 2. And I probably should have mentioned, I don't know if I said it, this game retails for about $27. So if you're looking for it, it's not too expensive, and it might be one quick little game that you can try. So to be determined, we will revisit.
Well, I have got a couple of 2-player games to chat about. First up, Aqualin. Designed by Marcello Bertocci. Art is by Sophie Rakosowski. And it's published by Cosmos, which makes it a Cosmos 2-player game. And Cosmos 2-player games are some of my favorite games ever. I love the Cosmos 2-player series so much. So it's just an instant buy. I'll be honest. A new one comes out, I'm just buying it. That's all there is to it. I don't even care what the game is. Cosmos 2-player, beep, add to cart or go to the FLGS and pick it up off the shelf. Retails $20. So affordable. Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Okay. Anyway, Aqualin is a 2-player tile laying game. The tiles are quite nice. They're chunky little squares with icons imprinted on them. So the quality of the components for $20, I have to say, was pretty impressive. I was surprised by that. Not surprised, but I was pleased by it, I guess I should say.
Okay.
In Aqualin, you're going to get all these tiles with different sea life icons. There are 6 different colors, and there are 6 different types of sea creatures, like jellyfish or seahorses or crabs, things like that. And basically, there's one creature in every color. At the beginning of the game, between the 2 players, you choose. One player will score by color, and one player will score by sea life type.
Oh, interesting.
It is. And then the game is so simple. I'm going to teach you how to play it right now, Mandy. Right? You got a little board. You got all these tiles. You shuffle all the tiles, flip them face down, put 6 face up. That's what you get to pick from on your turn. On your turn, you may slide an existing tile that's on the board horizontally or vertically in a straight line until it hits the edge of the board or another tile, and then it just stops. Then you must place the tile, take one of the tiles that are available, and place it anywhere on an open spot on the board. Then you draw a new tile to fill in the blank that you left, and your turn is done. Now you know how to play Aqualin.
Okay, super easy.
Of course, the rules are simple. The trick is all in the scoring.
Right.
After all the tiles are placed out, you will score. And again, one of you is scoring for color and one is scoring for fish type, and you're just scoring groupings, adjacent groupings. And it has a pyramid point scale. So 2 animals next to each other is worth 1 point, but then 3 animals next to each other is worth 3 points, and that kind of thing. So the scale escalates the more you can get together, which is a really critical factor in how the game plays out. It's incredibly clever, incredibly simple, and mean. Oh my gosh, this game is so mean. So if you like 2-player games, I mean, the theme is so pleasant, and the art is so cute and just pleasing. But you are cutting each other off all the time. You are calculating the board. You're looking at your options. You're sliding tiles to break up your opponent's groups. You're sliding tiles to try to rejoin your groups. You're looking at the tiles that are available to see how you can maximize and try to be very smart in how you place things. You're doing a lot of thinking around a very simple rule set. And ultimately, I think what I kind of landed on is that it's a game of trade-offs. And that pyramid scoring scale is absolutely critical to making this work, because what you are doing is you're thinking, okay, well, you just broke up my group here. Do I let that go or do I fight to keep it? Oh, look at what tiles are available here. Well, if I put that out there, it keeps that broken up, but it sets me up for a different, better grouping later. And that may be worth it, because if you give up 3 points here for a 3-point grouping, but you can gain 9 points for a bigger grouping later, it's worth the trade-off kind of thing. Or is it better for me to break up your big group or place based on my group? Like, there's all these, it's if I do that, then it's all these trade-offs. And it creates a lot of tension, but it's very quick to play. You could definitely get bogged down in overthinking it. But because the tiles come out randomly, there's only so much you can do. And I think that helps actually manage the analysis paralysis. I didn't know what to expect. I saw the box. I thought it was pretty. It's a Cosmos 2-player game. I'm going to buy it no matter what. And this one is a keeper. It's simple. It's tense. You can try to be strategic, but you have to be tactically flexible. You have these moments where you just feel like they're magic because you were so clever, or you're biting your nails so that your opponent doesn't see that one critical move that you're setting up for, and you hope they don't block you. And then they do see it and they block you and you scream at them. And I just love that. I love the energy that came with this game in this beautiful package with lovely quality components for $20.
Yeah, it's a good price.
Aqualin is a good example of just why I love the Cosmos 2-player line of games in general. It is a winner. If you got 2 players at the table, you should check this one out for sure. Aqualin.
Yeah, so is it mean? Because I have this one. I haven't played it yet, so I'm hoping to get it to the table soon. But, I'm not one for mean games, but is it like mean but good mean? I don't even know how to
I think it's mean but good mean.
Okay.
And like I said, it is about trade-offs. Okay, so I break up your group. Well, then you have to make a choice about breaking up the group I just broke up, or trying to bring it back together, or breaking up one of my groups. It's part of the game. I don't think it's anger-inducing mean. I think it's fun tension mean, but your mileage may vary.
Okay, good to know. I'll have to get that one to the table soon. All right, well, now you heard me talk about another solo game. This is an actual solo game, not can be played solo, 1 player only. So, Warp's Edge, designed by Scott Alms, art is by Tyler Johnson, and it's published by Renegade Game Studios. As I stated before, it's a solo game, and it plays in about 30 to 45 minutes, and it retails for about $33. The game, you are supposed to be a rookie pilot named Taylor Mind. I hope I'm saying that right. And there's, after a battle, you're stranded from your fleet, and you're basically trying to get back up, get through the warp gates, and find a way home. That's the premise behind the game. It's very spacey. So let's go with that. When I say spacey, it's a very space-themed game. I'm putting that out there for a reason. We'll get to it. I played 2 ways. I played just the beginning kind of setup in the game. So let's start with that. So you have a motherboard or mothership, and you have your own ship. So those are some of the boards you're going to see. You have shields, and I forget what the other thing is that you're monitoring, but you have 2 items that you're monitoring on your ship, the hull and the shields. And you have tokens that you're going to use in the game in order to fire on the mothership, and something else I didn't mention, the enemies that come out. And you have to attack those enemies as well. And some of the motherships that you have stipulations on, maybe you have to kill all the enemies in the deck before you hit them. And it tells you the sorts of things that are required for you to do in order to attack. So there's I think it's 5 phases or steps that you go through. So it could include getting more tokens, attacking, there are a whole bunch of different things, but it includes mostly that. So you're trying to get rid of the enemies and kill off the mothership without killing yourself off. And you're trying to do it in the same warp. So each kind of round, I guess you could say, as long as you you always want to be able to pull tiles out of the bag at that end round. So at the end of the round, if you're not able to, oopsie, then you got to go into a different warp that wipes everything. So those cards that right now get shuffled in, and some of them are hard cards. So you may end up starting with like a hard enemy that comes out, So it does kind of throw you off a little bit, but now at least you'll have more of those kind of fun tiles in the bags that you didn't have in the beginning. So ideally, you're trying to kill off all the enemies, kill off the mothership before you either, get out of warps or your hull and shields are completely done and, well, your ship is no longer and you're dead. So we don't want that either. So try and do all the things before that happens. All that to say, okay, the second mode that I played was with the story. So there's a little booklet that comes with it that has a story, and as you're reading through the story, you have setup. So you don't do the normal setup that's in the book. You follow the story and it'll tell you this, pick this. And it's kind of like a choose your own kind of adventure type book. So depending on the path you take will depend on the ship that you get or the mothership that comes out. I have to tell you, the story is what did it for me. So I played this with my friend Ashley. So I played it solo, the original game, by myself. And then my friend Ashley and I, we kind of did the story together and kind of played it together. And we were both so invested in that story. Like, you don't understand. We were looking up stuff. Oh, yeah, that's great. And we're dancing, singing. And, okay, this is good. We wanted to know what happened. And then it was over. And I'm like, oh, I want more of the story. And I believe the story was Banana Chan. There's somebody else it was written with, I believe, but I know Banana Chan was part of that team, and she's just great stuff. So not surprising it was so good. I wanted more of that story in the game. So I almost hoped it would continue as you're playing. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how else to explain it. Like it was really meant for the setup of the game, but I wish it continued with the game. I would have been like, I wouldn't have cared it was space at that time. I would have been like, who cares? The story's good. I'm invested. I'm in it to win it. For me, the theme of the game falls flat, but you all know that I'm not really big into space theme, but this one really kind of this one oozes space. Like, if you're looking for space theme, this does it. So if space is your jam, you will like the theme on this game. The game itself, now coming from a friend who is a solo player, so I asked Ashley because she plays a lot of solo games. I said, as a solo player, how would you kind of rate this? And she said to me, hey, she's like me, not really so much into the space theme, but she said a lot of solo gamers want games that give them a challenge. And this game 100% does that. Like, you are not going to win first out of the game. I don't know. It took me, even still, I haven't beaten it yet. So she said that's really big, and this game does that, and there's a lot of variability in the ways that you can play it, and then having that additional story mode is also quite nice, so it keeps it fresh. So in that sense, it's a good game that you can cycle through a whole bunch of scenarios, and you're probably not going to win, but you're going to see a lot of different things, and you would enjoy that. So solo players, 100%, this will probably be something that you are really, really going to enjoy. As someone who is not a solo gamer playing this, the story hooked me 100%. But I like that storytelling aspect. And then when it came down to the actual game for me, I get it. I like the fact that it was challenging, but it just wasn't for me.
I think that's very fair.
Yeah. So, and I know, Suzanne, you've played this.
Oh, yeah. And I am a solo gamer. In fact, I have a lovely little... I actually keep my solo games in my bedroom on a shelf set in my bedroom.
Got it.
Because I find I pull them out after the kids are in bed and just knock out a few games. And Warp's Edge, I really, really like this game. It is hard as heck. All that variability between how you mix and match the ships. There's a lot going on in how it changes it up. I think it's great. I love the pool building or that bag building action. It's a mechanism I personally really, really enjoy. So you add that into the mix here, and I think it works. Same thing, that choose your own adventure story. I didn't realize it was in the box, so I'm going through when I opened it up. oh, here's this rule book. Oh, here's some other thing. But then I
Right.
started actually looking at it and I realized, oh my gosh, it's actually a choose your own adventure. And similar to you, Mandy, I got kind of wrapped up into it. And then I realized, oh, wait, you can actually use it to set up your game, the ending. I was charmed by that for sure. But from a solo player, so Mandy, totally appreciate your perspective as a person who doesn't enjoy solo games. My perspective as a person who does enjoy solo games, gameplay-wise, challenge-wise, I really, really like this game. My key complaints about the game are around the setup. And it's kind of a mixed bag. Because there's so much variability, it requires a little more work to get it set up. You have to pull the right power tokens that match the right ships. And you get these trays in the game that have everything organized. I think they work okay.
Okay.
So I feel like the setup takes a little bit, maybe just a touch more effort than I wish it had. But what I found that means is that then I just leave the same setup out and I play it multiple times.
Sure.
And then I lose multiple times and I get grumpy about it and then I want to beat it no matter what. So it ultimately doesn't really matter much that there's a little extra setup because I just really enjoy the game and the pool building and how you allocate your different attacks to the different ships and the coming so close that you think you got it. And then,
nope.
like you said, the ships get shuffled up and then that big one comes out and you can't do it. And
Exactly.
womp, womp. So
So-
Warp's Edge, from my perspective, I really like it. I'm going to say between the two that have come out in this series, I think I like it better. I just
See?
love that pool building.
I
so.
like the first one better.
Yeah, I see that.
And that's,
they're both good.
What's that? And so let me be clear. Warp's Edge, it's a good game. It's just not for me. Like, it's as
Yeah.
a person who doesn't play solo games, this is not one that's going to change my mind to get into solo gaming. However, if they had that story and continued with the story, 100% different. I think I 100% would be invested in playing it at that point. But as a solo gamer, I think this is something you will get challenged. You will enjoy it. The setup I did find a little tedious. I didn't mind the trays, but I feel they could have had a bit more separation for the
yeah.
different tiles. But at the end of the day, it's worth it if you like the game. So Warp's Edge for me, yes. I think it's a good game, just not for someone who doesn't play solo games.
Fair enough. My next adventure in two-player games is a Lookout Spiel two-player game. Which, guess what, Mandy?
Yes.
That's the other two-player series of games I love. You get things like Agricola All Creatures, Big and Small, and
Right.
you get Le Havre Inland Port, which I love those games, right? I believe Mandala from last year was their two-player release, and Mandala is a choice two-player game. So good. Well, Glasgow comes out. Of course, I'm so excited to try it. They thankfully put it up on Tabletopia so I could try it virtually or digitally. And I'm really glad they did. Glasgow is designed by Mandela Fernandez Grandon, and the art is by the ever wonderful Clemens Franz. Oh, I just love Clemens Franz work. Published by Lookout Games, and this is going to retail for $30 in the US. Glasgow is a two-player action rondel game in which you're constructing Glasgow, the city of Glasgow. So there you go. What's going to happen is that you get these little tiles that represent actions that you're going to shuffle up and deal out in a circle. And then there's little building tiles that are put at some of those locations. And the tiles will mostly be about getting you resources that you track on a personal player board, like iron or brick or what have you. And whiskey. Whiskey is a rare resource in this one.
All right, fair.
And actions, mostly about putting buildings out. And when you can build, you have to take one of the available buildings above the building action spot and put that in a grid in the center that you are constructing this city together. So it's a shared city tableau. And when you put the little tile, it's got a little arrow on it, and you point it towards yourself so that you know you own that building, which will matter at the end of the game. So you're just going to go around moving your player pawn. You can't occupy the same space on most spaces that your opponent's on. So there is a little bit of like action, cutting somebody off from actions, which really comes into play. Gather your resources and then go to a building to try to build it. The 4x5 grid kind of grows organically. So you're kind of jockeying for position until that grid size is set, which is a nice little factor as well. And one critical twist in the game are these factory tiles. So some of the buildings are parks, and you're going to score based on how many parks are out there. Or there's tenement housing, which will score for how many tenement houses are adjacent to it. But then there are factories, and factories do a number of different actions when they're activated. But when another building is placed in the same row or column as a factory, it activates all of the factories in the column and row. And that is hugely powerful and interesting, as you're kind of going, oh, well, I really want to put this building here because I can score more for my park, but it's going to activate Mandy's factory there and get her a gold that I don't want her to have.
Right.
Or I don't really want this building here, but it'll activate 3 of my factories, so I have to put it here because I need those resources that it generates. It adds a nice little interesting decision point there. You play until that 4x5 grid is completed, and then you're just going to score all of the buildings that you placed, which have that little arrow indicator, and whoever has the most points wins. It's a solid 2-player game, and I enjoy it. Clemens Franz, when I see Clemens art on a game, it makes me feel warm. It feels familiar and comfortable in a very delightful way. So I see that style, and it just makes me smile, and I'm in my happy Euro-style game home there. But I will say, nothing stood out to me in Glasgow as unique. I like action rondelles. I like city building or tile laying, that kind of element where you're laying tiles and they score adjacently. I really typically like that mechanism, and I liked it here. It just didn't combine to be something magical for me. And I think that could be, like, when I played Mandala, I could sing that game's praises forever. It has a magic, a spark to it, a twist that felt extra clever. And I don't know if I felt that when I played Glasgow. That's not to say it's a bad game. Glasgow ends up being a game I will happily play anytime somebody wants to play it with me. Will I add it to my collection? I don't think so. Although that kind of stings because I'm a little bit of a collector. And having that Lookout Spiele line, all those games together makes me happy. But I don't know. Glasgow, it's a good game if you do not have a game with action rondelles that you love. Mm-hmm. Or you do not have a game in which you're putting tiles out and they score based on adjacencies that you love. You should definitely check out Glasgow. But I have a lot of rondelle games, and I have a lot of tile laying games that I already love. And I'm not sure Glasgow is the one to wedge in between those for me. So Glasgow, really enjoyed it. Solid game. 2-player lookout games. A game they can be proud of for sure.
And that's hard. As a collector, I know. Like, everyone knows I love Stefan Feld, but there are a few games I just had to not get because they just weren't, they weren't as good as others. So I totally understand that feeling. So the final thing I'm going to talk about today, it's not really a game, but it is. I've talked about it on the podcast before. So Too Many Bones. And for those who don't know, this is a dice building RPG game. It's designed by Josh J. Carlson and Adam Carlson. Art is by Josh Carlson and Anthony Letourneau. And it's published by Chip Theory Games. So I have all of the things. So thank you, Chip Theory, because I love it so much. And it's a hard one to get played because it's a big one. But when I do play it, I really, really like it. And I recently got the Trove box. So for those of you who don't know, the Trove box fits everything. With the exception of Cloudspire, it fits Splice and Dice, it fits the Too Many Bones, it fits Undertow, all into this one really cool box. Has a really funky key that you can open. It's magnetic. And the box is huge, but guess what? It fits in a Kallax square. So looking at it, you're like, oh goodness, but it fits everything into one square versus when I had all my other games, it was over 3 Kallax squares. So it condensed to one is really good.
It did make it better.
It did make it better. Agreed. Heavy, but better. So the one I want to talk about today is the new character Dart. So the Gearlock is what they're called in the game. And each Gearlock has like special abilities, so special dice that they can use. This one was interesting to me. And we've had 2 playthroughs of the game now, and I'm still kind of figuring out the character. But what's happening in the game is that you're going on an adventure, right? And it could be 8-ish to 12 battles, depending on the kind of end baddie that you choose. And you're going to face a whole bunch of things along the way. in addition to these battles, but you're also going to get some good things that'll help you kind of build up your status for your gear lock. So in this particular one with Dart, I get to play with a little buddy called Board, BOAR''D.
Aww.
The Board doesn't attack, but is really good for, no, I don't want to say a meat shield per se, but does help me out with movement a little bit. But if I have to take a damage, Bort can take the damage. So that does help out a little bit. But this one's different in the fact that the mat has two sides. So what happens is Dart can go to Dangerous Dart in a battle, and once per battle, and the mat flips. So when the mat flips from there, you're allowed to do some true damage hits and potentially get some dice back that you've exhausted. Because this particular character, it's difficult because your skill dice, so those are the dice that maybe, might give some extra attack or do some poison or something like that, require an attack die to be rolled with it. And I can attack everybody, one person or one baddie each on the board, but only one time. And I'm limited by the dice that I have. So this is a tricky one to play. And once I've rolled the dice with skill dice, it's exhausted. So that attack die is no longer available to me that attack run. So I end up losing dice when I roll skill dice. But the skill dice are really helpful for me, attacking the baddies on the board. So long story short, the reason I want to talk about this one is because this gear lock is very different from the others I've played because of that double kind of board that happens, and it's vastly different. So I do recommend this character. You might want to play it a few times because what's happening is my friend Michael and I are going to probably at some point be doing a playthrough with this character or this gear lock, and he has also another gear lock. It's not coming to me right now that he hasn't played as well, but they are on the higher difficulty scale. It's tricky. So watch some videos. I know Shannon, who is part of the company, does some great videos, and specifically on Dart. And I just found it a really interesting playthrough. So Dart, a new character, a new gear lock from Too Many Bones. A little chat about the Trove Box if you don't have it and you have all the Too Many Bones stuff. And I'm not just saying that because I get it. It is very useful because I just didn't have the room to keep everything over 3 squares in my Calyx. So very happy to try that out. You should all check it out.
And to wrap up, I wanted to actually do just a little bit of a family game blitz because I have been playing so many games with my family lately, and a number of them we've actually talked about on the podcast, or Tom and Eric have talked about, and I didn't want to maybe spend too much time on them, but I wanted to bring them up because I know we're all looking things to do with our families, so maybe you can find a game you don't have yet that plays well for families, especially families with kids. Mm-hmm. First up, Mia London from Scorpion Masqué. Now, that is not the name of the game. That's my shortening of it.
Yeah.
Because the name of the game is Mia London and the Case of the 625 Scoundrels. My goodness.
It's long. It's a long one.
It's a really cute game. Basically, it's a memory and it's mostly a memory game. Mm-hmm. What's really fun is every player is going to get this little spiral-bound flip book that has the pages sliced. And parents will be familiar with this type of book where you can flip an element of a character that's shown. And so when all the pages are flipped, you get this character. And each slice of the book is a hat, glasses, a mustache, and a bow tie. Mm-hmm. And then you've got decks of cards. And you're going to flip up these cards in kind of a timed rhythm, and everybody's watching the cards, and then you have a quick minute to lock in which card was not shown, because you pull out one of each at the beginning of the game, kind of like Clue, and then that's the character that you're looking to create in your flip book. So you go through the hats, you go through the glasses. Ooh, which glasses didn't appear? Oh, I think it was a triangle glasses. No, it was a hexagon. And you lock in your choice. And at the end of the game, you flip over the cards that had been pulled aside. And if you got it right, you win the game. If multiple people got it right, you kind of, it's a family game. It's not a big deal. It's cute. It's very, very cute. It's fun to flip through the books. I think my 8-year-old was just couldn't keep up with my 11-year-old, and he got grumpy about it and really didn't care for it. And so my 11-year-old, on the other hand, who has a very strong memory, she liked it. And it's a little bit of an immature game for her, perhaps, but she really, really likes it. And she wants to play it all the time.
Aww.
And she beats me because I can't pay attention to all these things at once in my brain because I have a terrible memory. So, Mia London, it's a very cute game. You can play it with any age kid. There's no reading required. Obviously, your mileage may vary, but it's a memory-based little game that has a fun component. And overall, my family likes it. Next one up, Mole Rats in Space, which I understand has been relabeled Space Escape, subtitle Mole Rats in Space. This is published by Peaceable Kingdom. It is a cooperative game of shoots and ladders. And you say shoots and ladders, and I'm like, shoots and ladders is just one of those games. It's like Candyland. You just don't have a lot of choice. Shoots and ladders, you spin a spinner, you move that space. Either you get lucky or you don't.
Right.
Mole Rats in Space, or Space Escape, is designed by Matt Leacock. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, that Matt Leacock. And Matt Leacock made good shoots and ladders. It's amazing. So you get this big board, and you each have the role of a mole rat trying to make an escape, and you're working together, and there are snakes. And you can lose if snakes get into the cockpit of the shuttle that you're navigating around or the space station that you're navigating. And you can also lose if the snakes bite you, bite all the mole rats. I know, it's very, very sad. But you have a medicine pack, but anyway.
Okay.
And it's all card-based. So card gets flipped over, and every card, or most every card, has a mole rats can move, and then snakes can move. Instantly off the top, you can choose which direction. It's kind of a circular board. So you can choose which direction to move, which instantly improves the kind of roll and move or random and move element of the game.
Right.
Because you're working cooperatively, you're running around the board trying to pick up 4 little items and then you all have to get to the center to escape. You're working together, you're cheering each other on, you're making decisions about where the snakes move, things like that. It works. It's magic. My kids and I play it all the time. If you're looking for that simple family weight game to play with even young kids,
Right.
Mole Rats in Space, Space Escape, definitely check it out.
Cool.
And finally, Draftosaurus.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people have talked about Draftosaurus. This is published by Ankama Games, in which you're literally drafting dinosaurs. They have a ton of these adorable, colorful dino meeples, and you each get a little dino park board. And each section of the board scores a little differently. In one section, you want to put all different dinos. In another section, you want to put all the same dinos. In another section, you want to have pairs of dinos. And you're just going to draft, shuffle up more dinos, draft, and then score your board. It's very, very simple. Now, first of all, if you get Draftosaurus and you do not have hands the size of Andre the Giant's, get some cupcake holders or get some little plastic cups, something that you can put the dinos in instead of holding them in your hand. It makes it easier to pass them around the table.
Absolutely.
Makes a huge, huge difference for quality of play experience. Beyond that, Draftosaurus is one of those games. Draftosaurus is a gift game. Draftosaurus is the kind of game I will buy 10 copies of, and then every birthday for my kiddo that you have to give him a gift, just wrap up a copy of Draftosaurus and give it, because it is that kind of game. It is easy to play. It's adorable. It's charming. It's fun for adults. It's fun for kids. I love it, love it, love it. Both of my kids love it, love it, love it. It's fun for me to see children go through the process of prioritizing what they want to take and thinking through the different scoring options. I just love that magic of watching kids play games that way. And I just found this out like a week ago. They're coming out with little expansions for Draftosaurus.
Oh, I didn't know that. Ooh.
Yeah, there's like flying dinosaurs that they're going to introduce and water-based dinosaurs they're going to introduce.
Amazing. Love it.
Yeah, so I am super in on that. Draftosaurus, again, if you're looking for a family game, honestly, one of my top 10 recommendations, I think, for a family weight game. Draftosaurus is wonderful. So there you go, folks. A few family games that I wanted to mention here to you that maybe you can pick up and check out with your family. Alrighty, enough family game blitz. We're going to come a little full circle here because, Mandy, we talked about My City at the top.
Yes.
And we thought, well, maybe we should visit Dr. Knizia a little bit more and serve up some game pie. Thanks to our sponsor, The Op, also known as USA Opoly. This week's featured game is Hues and Cues. Now, I know we're all looking for fun games that can play a lot of people and is simple and fun and something that players of all types can play. Well, Hues and Cues may be the perfect game for this time of year. You're going to ask each other fun questions like, what hue do you think of when I say fast car? Players are going to mark the hue they think, and the closer they are to the target, the more points they get. It's fast and engaging, and it leads to a lot of fun conversations between players. You can get your copy of Hues and Cues at your favorite board game retailer today.
Order up!
And now, it's time to order up a slice of game pie.
Okay, so delicious game pie, and it's gonna be Reiner Knizia pie with a side of more pie. That did not go the way that I thought. I got stuck. I had a brain fart. Sorry, but we're gonna go with it. Okay, so if you didn't figure it out by that terrible, terrible song, game pie of Reiner Knizia Games. So I'm gonna kick it off first, and it's an easy one because we played it recently on an Naptastic, Yellow, and Yangtze. And I put that one first just because I actually won. That never happens in this game. So I was very excited.
Congratulations. It was a well-earned victory, Mandy.
Yeah, so I played the physical. I have the physical version as well, but we also played the app on Steam, and it's a really well-implemented app, but the game itself is quite good. And, I mean, it's one of those games where it's tricky. You know, you think, oh, you're doing really well, the next thing you know, someone comes up, I'm doing a little bit better, but you have chances to kind of regain areas that you may have lost on the board. So, I don't know, Yellow and Yangtze for me, I didn't think I was going to like it because I have some issues with, like, area control and things like that, but
yeah,
I really liked it. It was quite good.
And totally agree. I have had Tigris and Euphrates. So a lot of people will compare Yellow and Yangtze to Tigris and Euphrates for a lot of really, really good reasons. Yellow and Yangtze moves to hexagons away from squares, and there's some other elements that are introduced. I think I'm going to trade away Tigris and Euphrates
And
just keep Yellow and Yangtze.
Interesting.
It almost hurts to say that because I've had my copy for
Long time.
probably 20 years,
Wow.
but it's a good one.
Interesting.
First slice up for me, Modern Art. Modern Art, a classic auction game about selling and buying modern art. There are many, many versions out there, and it's the kind of game where you kind of want to chase down specific versions just because of what art they managed to license and put in the game. And it makes a difference when you're playing a game all about art and you like the aesthetics of one versus the other better. I've got a few versions. I think I've got 3 versions of it. Whatever. Don't judge me.
No judging.
Why modern art works and why modern art is special is because it puts multiple types of auctions in one game.
Yeah.
And I dislike some auction styles and I like some auction styles better, but modern art somehow brings them all together in a beautiful way that keeps it feeling really fresh between rounds and between hands because you're switching it all up. Plus, you get to look at the beautiful cards. It's just a great, great classic Knizia game. If you haven't had a chance to play it, or if you're averse to auction games, I still would suggest find an opportunity to give modern art a try.
You actually introduced me to this one because I was like, oh, auction, not my thing. And
Yeah.
I really liked this one. I have the latest iteration of it, and I quite enjoyed it. So don't write it off because of the auction kind of mechanic thing. It actually is
That was
really
you,
good.
yeah.
So there you go. Next up on my list is Schotten Totten, but I believe Suzanne was telling me Battle Line is the same game.
Yep, they're essentially the same game. Yes.
Okay, so I have only played Schotten Totten. This was taught to me by my friend Ashley, and I really enjoyed it. Now, it's been a while since I've played it, so I vaguely remember what it was about, but I do remember really enjoying it. But I believe this is one where you each kind of have cards on your own side, and it's almost like, I don't want to say poker, so to speak, but you're trying to build up a certain kind of set of numbers or configurations on your side of the board against your opponent.
Right, you're trying to, there's cards in the middle and you're trying to take control of them. It's almost an area control game, right?
Right, but with cards. So I'm horrible at it, but that doesn't matter because I still really had fun. And I'm like, let's play again. I want to try it again. So Shantan was a good one. I'm curious to see the art in Battle Line because I've not seen it, but I quite enjoyed this game.
Well, and that's an interesting point right there. I adore Battle Line, and if you had not put Shantan on, I may have had to find a way to switch it up. There are multiple editions of Battle Line out.
I didn't know that.
But recently, Battle Line, and I guess they market it as Battle Line Medieval, was released. Now, this was a weird situation where a special print run got approved, and it featured just this really beautiful medieval style art featuring knights and jousting and all this other stuff. Traditional Battle Line from GMT Games has a more line art style of characters, but then this medieval line came out, and the art is just more lush.
Okay.
And I love it. It's gorgeous. So GMT released that one as well, ultimately, officially. It existed in this like 400 print run, and then GMT ended up deciding to go ahead and do a full print run of it. So, Mandy, if you check out Battle Line, make sure you check out Battle Line Medieval, because I think that's the one you'll enjoy more.
I do like medieval. All right.
Yeah, it's very pretty. For me, you've heard me talk about this game before on the podcast just because that's how much I like it. And I feel like it's undervalued, so I'm going to keep on talking about it. So deal with it, folks. That sounded so aggro. My apologies.
Like it.
I like this game. Like it too, please. Pickomino. Pickomino is the birds barbecuing worms domino-based game, folks. Those are words I just put together that are real. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
And it's just so darn good. It's a push your luck game where you have these domino tiles out that have numbers on the top, and they have a certain number of worms on the bottom. And you're rolling dice, and you're trying to get a specific value so that you can take the tile and build a stack up of worms, and you want worms to win. It's easy to bust. You can also potentially steal worms from another player. It's an excellent, excellent push your luck game. It's got one of the weirdest themes I've ever seen in a game, and I love it. Pickomino, great game for family, great game for adults. A really great push your luck game. Birds barbecuing worms. I'm not going to stop, Mandy.
Well, and I'm thinking, I'm like, why does this sound so familiar? And I'm having a certain reaction to it, but I can't figure out why. And then it came to me when you talked about, what is it? BB and what? Birds barbecuing
worms.
BBW. There you go. That's how I'm going to remember that game now. BBW. Not BBQ. BBW. Okay, good to know. Next up on my list, well, we talked about it already on the podcast, is My City. So I know it's a newer game, but I really enjoyed it. And the whole legacy aspect, I mean, it's hard to get through these types of games. Time, life, things get in the way of playing through a lot of these in a timely manner. But these were short enough games and interesting games that kept us wanting to play more. So My City is great. And you can play it after you've done the campaign. So it's not like it's completely finished. Right. I know for us, we played a lot of it, but we also have a lot of other games that we have to play for reviewing and whatnot. So My City for me was a great experience, and I implore others to give it a try.
And for me, Winner's Circle. Winner's Circle is a horse racing game.
Okay.
And it's one of the best out there. I just love Winner's Circle. And I'm not sure I'll have to go look up when it's been published in the US recently. But basically, you get all these horses and you get some dice. And you're going to be betting on horses for how they run the race. And then once you've made your bets, you're going to roll the dice. And icons on the dice will be associated with different speeds or powers, I guess, on the horses. So if you roll a horseshoe symbol, well, then you're looking at all the horses and you're saying, okay, well, this horse moves 2 for the horseshoe symbol, or this horse moves 7 for the horseshoe symbol. Oh, but wait a minute. I didn't bet on the horse that moved 7 for the horseshoe symbol. So which horse do I want to move? That kind of thing. You just keep on doing that. You roll the dice, and then you keep on making these strategic movements based on what comes up and based on which horses haven't moved. It's a lot of fun. It's got that hidden betting element. It's got the luck of the dice, but you're really mitigating it through how you can move the horses. Winner's Circle is a great game. My biggest complaint with Winner's Circle is I have yet to see an edition that makes it easy to distinguish between the horses because they all kind of end up looking alike based on colors. And I've seen or played at least 4 different editions. We got to work on that. Everybody wants like nice horse colors, like light brown and dark brown and tan and gray. And I'm like, why don't you guys just gotta go for the bold colors so we can see them on the track better. But other than that, Winner's Circle, an excellent, excellent racing game. Highly recommend it.
Thanks. I've not heard of this one, but I mean, after
it's so good.
Played that, is it Hundreds of Horses with the Shut Up and Sit Down crew? Now I'm like, maybe I should look into other horse type games.
That's what we have to do, Mandy, a horse game pie.
We're going to have to because it's be fantastic. So my last slice of pie today is Lost Cities. And I think I talked about this not too long ago. I think when Tom was on the show, I talked about the app for Lost Cities. And this is part of that 2-player series, I believe, Suzanne, that you like from Cosmos. I could be wrong.
Absolutely.
It is. Okay, I wasn't sure. But this one is a good one. And I think I have a variety of versions, and I think the most recent art I quite liked. I was like, wow, this is really nice. It was some inclusive art, so I really appreciated that. I think the box might be a little bigger, I'm not sure. Lost Cities is good. Now, it's been a long time since I've played this game, actually. I do remember vaguely. Now, don't judge me, because as soon as I start playing, and then I'm like, oh yeah, then I remember. This is the one, right, Suzanne, where you have to have lines of colors together on your side?
Yes.
Yes. That's right.
And you don't have to start new rows because you lose points when you start a new column. And you got to make sure you can play enough cards to a column that you can actually score points. And I may be very bad at judging that sometimes.
Oh, me too. I'm like, how is my score so bad in this game? So it's funny how, sometimes gameplay is a little fuzzy for me. I'm like, it's been a while. But I do remember how badly I lost. And this would be one of those. So Lost Cities, bad loss, but great game.
And to wrap up Game Pie and serve up my last slice, Medici, the card game.
Oh, so good. So good.
Right? Okay, folks, Medici, the card game. Now, first of all, don't get me wrong. I love Medici.
Oh,
and this is why we wanted to do a Game Pie about Knizia. So many good games. I mean, you just have to fully respect and appreciate what Dr. Knizia has contributed to the hobby board gaming world, because just an immense number of really good games. And Medici is one of them. But Medici, the card game, is one of my personal favorites. And it's one that I feel is maybe slightly underappreciated. First of all, Medici the card game plays up to 6 people.
Nice.
I have had this in my bag at conventions, and it's so easy to throw down and teach and play with a nice group of people. It works so well in that setting, and I really appreciate that. It's got a kind of a push your luck thing, because basically you're flipping over cards. You can choose to stop flipping over cards, and then you take cards and you add them to your boat, and you're filling your boat with different materials, basically. And at the end of every round, you're just counting up, and it's kind of majority who has the most of any given thing, and you're scoring points. It's a pretty simple game, which, again, if you're looking at our list, is something that just Dr. Knizia shines at.
Right.
Taking something fairly simple and just making it sing. And Medici the card game is another example of that, where you take a very simple concept, it adds just a little bit of magic. A lot of the tension is as the cards are revealed and you're seeing things that you want, and then there's this tension of, well, will the other player take it or not? That kind of, it just works so great. I think it's a little under-recognized for how delightful it is, and one of my personal favorites. Medici, the card game.
Good choice. That's. I was introduced to that one by a friend not too long ago, and I have to say I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, if you haven't tried it out, you should. Quite good.
So there you go, folks. Our Dr. Reiner Knizia Game Pie. Now, we know this one is going to be, I can already hear y'all yelling at us, well, what about El Dorado and what about all these other games? I can hear you.
Actually, I can hear Eric yelling about the El Dorado. Eric Summerer.
Right? I can hear them yell. What about Through the Desert? What about Blue Moon Cities? What about Keltis? I hear you. I hear you, folks. What about Llama, right?
Yeah.
Which was just the spiel thing.
So many.
Folks, bring it to email. Bring it to email.
Or
lay into us.
the guild.
Let us know where we got it wrong and which one of your favorites we missed. We'll take the feedback.
Yes.
But if you want to tell us how awesome our game selections were, you can also send that too. If you want to reach me, or if you want to send any general questions about games, suggestions for future Game Pie segments, suggestions for Victory Point segments, send them our way. You can reach me at Suzanne@dicetower.com.
And I'm almost done. I think I'm pretty caught up on emails, but if I missed it and didn't get back to you, send it again. It may have gone to my junk box. You can reach me at Mandy, that's Mandy with an I, at dicetower.com.
As always, folks, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be part of your extended gaming family. Thank you so much for streaming us through your device and letting us ramble about games into your earpiece. We really, really appreciate that. We appreciate your feedback and your comments and the way that you chat with us online, and it just brings everything to life. We don't say this lightly. We really, truly, deeply mean it. Thank you so much. Next episode, 685, Tom and Eric blend up their favorite hybrid games. I honestly, man, I have no idea what a hybrid game is in that context.
I also didn't know what that was.
I got to go look this up later. All right. Until next time, everyone, I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
And I'm Mandy Hutchinson.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is an organization dedicated to helping gamers in need. Learn more about the fund's mission and how you can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom, Suzanne, Mandy, and Eric with assistance from Roy Canaday and Rob Searing. Our theme is composed by Timothy Pinkham and arranged by Matt Bellier. Let us know what you think of the show by posting to the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, following the Dice Tower on Twitter, or by emailing us at podcast@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. All right, everyone, it's that time again for Two Truths and a Lie. I'm going to go first with mine from last episode. So I've been published in 3 magazines. I was interviewed on the news, and I have over 100 board game selfies on my phone that I've never posted on social media. I know you were all thinking that number 3 was real. No. I said I have over 100. Well, no. I think I have about 10. So, as much as you all think that I love myself, I do. But there are only 10 that I haven't posted.
Well, I figured you just posted them all, because I see a lot of them.
I know.
For me, last episode, I said, I've been to Mesa Verde, I've been to Mount Rushmore, and I've been to Yosemite. And the lie is that I've been to Mesa Verde. I've never managed to go there, and I would sure love to because it looks beautiful in all of the photos I've seen.
I've never been to any of those places, so now I have to add them eventually to my list to go there.
Yeah, they're all like American national parks, right?
No, it's cool. All right, so new for this episode. Here we go. As a child, I enjoyed stories from Beatrix Potter. As a child, I enjoyed books from Jan Brett. And as a child, I enjoyed works by Shel Silverstein.
Oh my gosh. I gotta find out which one's the lie because
it's a throwback.
I see 3 good names there, Mandy.
Very
so we
good
may
names.
have a fight. New for me this episode in a completely different direction.
Oh, this should be good.
Oh boy. I've made noodles with crushed up hot Cheetos. I've made noodles with crushed up Funyuns. And I've made noodles with crushed up graham crackers.
That sounds disgustingly delightful. I guess we'll find out next episode. Good luck, everyone.